What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another breakdown of Chainsaw Man. It's been a while since I've actually done a breakdown of a chapter, and that's really been because I've just been busy with life. But for the time being, I'll be back making more Chainsaw Man videos. Things are really starting to wrap up in part 2 of the series. So last chapter was revealed by the Famine Devil that the devil we saw formed from the dead corpses was a primal devil based on a primal fear, who would be one of the devils that would shepherd the world into chaos. Now, a bit of recap for those that have forgotten. A primal devil is a powerful devil that is based on a primal fear that's generally instinctive to humanity, something that people are all inherently afraid of. Take, for example, the Darkness Devil that appeared in International Assassin's Arc, which is a devil that's a personification of people's fear of the darkness. A devil so strong that it killed off a good majority of the cast in part 1, and if Makima hadn't popped in to save the day, well, that's where Denji's story would have ended at. What also makes these devils so unique is the fact that since they're so strong, it means that they've never known death, which means that they've never been to Earth, since the devil has to die in hell to respawn on Earth. Although Makima, who was the original incarnation of the Control Devil, along with the other 4 horsemen, the Gun Devil, the Hell Devil, and Pochita are all exceptions to this, so perhaps in future chapters, it'll be explained how they made it to Earth without having to die or use the Hell Devil's ability to come in and out of Hell. Now, the devil in this chapter isn't revealed to be the Death Devil like we all thought they were. Me personally, I thought it was the Devil of Despair, as this is one of the first fears humanity ever experienced, with the fear of death coming after. And I was partially wrong, as the devil uses the head from one of its victims and reveals herself to be the Fall Devil. And in reality, looking back, it does make a lot of sense. As a study in 1960 revealed that when we're infants, the first 2 inherent fears people experience are the fear of falling and the fear of loud sounds. And if you actually take a look at the Fall Devil's design, a subtle reference for this is the fact of the matter that the devil's feet aren't feet. Instead, they're actually hands. And this could just be reflecting on the fact that when a person falls head first, they usually land on their hands to keep themselves up. We also get a reference from the Bible from the times of Adam and Eve, which is often seen as the fall of humanity arc. When the devil realizes her having no clothes on is quite indecent, it is pretty much a direct reference to when Adam and Eve ate the forbidden fruit and became ashamed of themselves for not dressing in clothes covering their bodies, which is a pretty cool reference right there. We didn't see that the Fallen Devil chose to dress in the clothing of a French chef, and ironically enough, it does seem that not only do devils generally have horrible naming skills according to Yoshida, but they also have the same fashion choice, since the Fallen Devil's design does remind me a bit of Makima's, but nonetheless is definitely a cool and an outright terrifying one. Seeing how nonchalant she is about murdering all those people, some that didn't even include a baby. Now, there's a bit of a debate on the actual translations, but according to a Reddit user that goes by Dendari, the Fallen Devil reveals that she'll be the chef tonight, and she's visiting Earth at the request of the Diners of Hell, i.e. the many devils that reside in Hell. And the Fallen Devil reveals that for the first course of the meal, and she starts speaking French, and the translation according to Google Translates, that she plans on feeding them appetizers or a root. And as this is all going on, Yoru, who's running away, explains to Asa that she's beginning to lose control of her body because of the negative emotions that the devil is causing her to feel. Something that we saw in previous chapter, where Asa, who is normally always down on herself, got so depressed to the point where she honestly became suicidal. Yoru then reveals and seemingly confirms that out of the 2 of them, only Asa can actually create strong weapons capable of possibly going against the Falling Devil, which is quite interesting but also really confusing, because it was never implied if this was really the case or not. Whether it's just Yoru using Asa's emotion to make the weapons, seeing how they share the same brain and share the same emotions, or Asa herself was really the only one who could actually form these weapons, and she herself would have to be the one to physically do it, despite them actually feeling the same way. Which now really makes me actually question, if Yoru knew this, why, and I really do mean why, did she try to turn Denji into a weapon knowing that it wouldn't be a strong one? The only logical explanation to this is probably has to do with the perception aspect of the ability, how genuine the emotions actually are, along with Yoru's ability to feel but also to be able to understand human emotions. Given that Yoru now understands what love feels like and is somewhat familiar with the concept as she's beginning to become more and more human, this all but confirms ironically that when Yoru was blushing after she kissed Denji, even though her and Asa felt the same way, they both actually felt some type of affection to him. Yoru, in her own way, is genuinely attracted and loves Denji. After all, if she herself didn't feel that way, she never would have tried to turn him into a weapon, and then probably attempting to kill him to cover up her identity as being the War Devil. In any case, the following devil says a line I never thought I would see in Chainsaw Man and is already being memed on in just a ton of ways. Allow me to begin cooking, which I'm not gonna lie, while I was reading this chapter at work, it really gave me a good chuckle to see Fujimoto include this slang in the manga. And with a single clap, we get a flashback of Asa after her mom died with the same cat that she saved while trying to escape the Typhoon Devil. Now, of course, while doing this, Asa fell down like she's fallen down her entire life at the worst possible moments, and this inadvertently leads to her mother's death by Karkun, the ultimate character in all of manga and anime. We see Asa sitting alone for a cat named Crampon, reading manga, and we see even as a young girl, she never really did associate herself with other people. Even other individuals like the other orphans at the orphanage, whose parents also probably died in devil attacks. We see the caretaker of the orphanage approach Asa and confront her about her cat, and explain to her that the cat needs to go. And at first she says that one of the children at the orphanage is allergic to cats, and then says that it's unhealthy for her to depend on the cat's companionship opposed to being social with the other kids. Which is somewhat true, because even though the cat serves as the last reminder of her mother, you gotta imagine that it also represents a lot of guilt for her, and it doesn't allow her to move past the fact that, well, she actually saved the cat over running away with her own mother. The caretaker explains the way the other kids moved past their trauma and that they were able to become regular kids again was by opening up to each other and just becoming a family. The caretaker manipulates Asa by revealing that she also lost her mother to the Typhoon Devil, which we all know was unlikely a lie, and says to her, don't you think the cat would be happier with other cat at her friend's house? And Asa thinks about it and she decides to give up the cat, and we get what is the creepiest smile I think I've ever seen from a regular human so far in this series. This moment is important because it shows that Asa, for the most part, didn't want to give the cat up, but she also wanted the cat to be happy. She just didn't see herself as the person who could make the cat happy, and almost felt like she didn't deserve the companionship and the love that the cat brought her. This could also really be caused by her low self-esteem, but also the fact that anyone that does tend to get close to Asa usually dies, meets a fate worse than death, or ends up leaving her. And throughout part 2, we kind of seen this in multiple moments. Yuko is a prime example, as this was Asa's first friend, and because of Asa, she indirectly caused her friend to end up going on a killing spree and become a literal devil. And Denji, who she currently believes actually stood her up despite her thinking that they actually made a genuine connection, which we all kind of know is far from the truth. Later in the flashback, we see that Asa is going to sleep when another girl at the orphanage questions where her cat is, and reveals that a cat similar looking to Crampon was found at the bottom of the river by the other children. And when Asa questions the caretaker if Crampon is okay, we get what is by far the most disturbing line in this chapter, where the caretaker says that everyone here lost their family. You can't be the only one with a family member. Isn't that unfair? Where it's all but confirmed that when the caretaker took Crampon, she pretty much threw him in a lake to drown because she was jealous that a teenage girl had a family member. And once again, this is Fujimoto showing us that humans can be just as vile, if not even crueler and pettier than the devils we see the characters face off in this series. Now, in this moment, at least for me, I think this is where Asa's pessimistic view of the world began to form, but also why she isn't trustworthy or really close to anyone. Since this is the second time so far in part 2 where she trusted someone and it ended in disaster. First time she did, her pet cat died, and the second time being with the class president, that ultimately costed her her life. It's just so sad to see that for a good part of Asa's life, anytime she ever tried to open up to other people and get the sweet, sweet happiness and love she always wanted, it gets snatched away faster than it was for her to obtain it. After this flashback, Asa wakes up screaming, and we get one of the best panels of the chapter of her seemingly defying the laws of gravity floating upside down. Now, the Falling Devil, who seemingly breaks the fourth wall, explains the lower the heart sinks, the higher the body falls, which is a concept of the dish. And says to the audience, may the flavor of your past traumas delight your taste buds. Essentially, the Falling Devil's abilities revolves around amplifying negative emotions subconsciously, but also can trigger people to live their past traumas. And the stronger the trauma is, the higher they float up in the air. And we get a panel of random people floating in the sky, while people look in shock while others walk around like it's just your average day in Ohio. And the way that the Falling Devil abilities works, and the shot we get of the people floating in the air, could also actually be a reference to Jordan Peele's Get Out, where there was a scene in the movie where the main character is hypnotized into experiencing a past trauma that caused him to sink into the dark depths of his own mind. And in this case, instead of people being thrown into their minds, it seems that they're getting transported to hell, as we see a salaryman float all the way into the air to an open door. Now, a bit of a recap: if you don't know, in part 1, it was revealed that hell wasn't the place depicted in Western media. Instead, it's a grassland full of doors upon doors, leading to various places where the devils reside, and the doors can seemingly transport said individuals to different parts of Earth and hell if they went through it. It could be that when the Falling Devil came at the request of the residents of hell, it could be literally to feed the residents of hell and stoke fear across the world, making the devils in hell and Earth a lot stronger. We get the final panel of Yoru screaming at Asa not to be scared since she can't possess her body to fight the Falling Devil, as Asa stares at an endless void of darkness. It's going to be interesting to see how everything plays out, considering, as the chapter implies, this is only the entree or the beginning of the Falling Devil's meal. Typically, if we go by a 3-course meal system, it starts with an appetizer, which means we still have the main course and the dessert to deal with. And already, this is just a really bad situation, and I can't possibly imagine how this could get any worse. As for Asa, it'll be interesting to see if she can beat the one devil that has caused her the most pain and misery of her life. If she's able to overcome her past traumas and her fear, she'll grow a lot more as a character and gain the confidence and possibly the self-love to live a happier life. But, I mean, to defeat the Falling Devil is another task in itself. To say that she would be able to defeat the Falling Devil that's a primal devil alone is very unlikely, and what will likely happen is in the next chapter, or possibly somewhere along in this arc, Asa and Yoru will be forced to team up with Denji in his Chainsaw Man form to defeat the Falling Devil. Denji did say that he would go out and fight the devil after Neyuta talked him into doing it. This could prove to really be Denji's own downfall, as we saw how he's acted in part 2 compared to part 1, and it's pretty clear he's probably depressed and has some PTSD from the events of part 1, from being manipulated by Makima and having all of his friends be brutally murdered right in front of him. Knowing Denji, he never was really able to grieve or had time to process the loss in a healthy way, so we could get a flashback featuring Makima, Aki, or even a past trauma in Denji's childhood besides his abuse from his father. We saw that as soon as Denji saw a bit of his past memories in part 1, the trauma that he suffered was so traumatic, his mind crumbled harder than a house of cards falling, and he went into a catatonic shock to the point where he pretty much lost his life. We may see Pochita pop up to get Denji out of this rough, or Asa could even step in and be the one to save him, which would be a really sweet moment. But let me know what you guys thought of this chapter of Chainsaw Man down below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys around in the next video.